What's going on here, Gotcha Gang? Kawaii50 here with another FGO video, here to talk about some fluffy tail that desperately needs touched. Yes, Summer Tamamo is returning for the 10 million downloads event, and I don't have a video up for her yet, so of course, we gotta make sure that gets done. So let's go ahead, let's make sure we talk about her. And gang, I'm not just gonna come out and say Tamamo is bad. Tamamo's not bad. People who tell you that are probably the same clowns that say Queen Mabe is bad. Now our 5-star Parasol Lancer fits well into our Buster meta with a quick arts Buster deck and a Buster Noble Phantasm. So yeah, her deck's a little bit spread out, like maybe Arjuna as an example, but this actually ends up lending great credence to her powerful NP gain. She has a 1.05% NP gain per hit, which can be absolutely crazy in an arts quick chain. On top of that, she has a 4% NP gain when attacked, and that is going to charge up her immensely powerful NP pretty fast, and we are going to get to exactly what that NP does in just a little bit. For now, let's take a look at them stats. Tamamo's 15,147 HP is the 9th highest HP in the game right now. On top of that, she has a 10,726 max attack, which is a little on the higher end for the game, and on top of that, that is going to be a little bit stronger considering Lancers have an inherent boost to their damage and attack values. So make sure you keep that in mind. Looking at Tama Shark's 3 class skills, she's got Riding Rank A, Territory Creation Rank A, and Divinity Rank A++. Now, that damage plus from Divinity is a pretty great synergy with her Lancer class, but the big stars here are the Riding and Territory Creation boosts. That boost to Arts card effectiveness is going to overall increase Tamamo's Noble Phantasm gain, and that boost to Quick card effectiveness is going to increase her crit star drop rate. So she's actually pretty decent at generating those critical stars for herself, thanks to her 2 quick cards in her deck. Now, taking a look at Tamamo's skills, her strongest skill, the skill you are absolutely going to want to level first, is Beach Flower Rank EX. It increases attack for all allies for 3 turns by 10 to 20% depending on level, and it also increases critical star drop rate for all male allies for 3 turns by a 22 to 42%. So if you have your characters you're pairing her with, like say your King Hassans, like say your Yan Kings, you're going to see a significant crit star drop rate boost for those characters. And because this is a very general ability and Summer Tamamo's only ability without a demerit, you definitely want to make sure you level this first. Tamamo's second ability is Midsummer Curse Rank A. It charms a single enemy for 1 turn. It also decreases their defense by 20 to 30% for 3 turns, and also inflicts curse on that enemy for 5 turns for 500 to 1,000 damage per turn. Now, the big demerit with this skill is the fact that it increases the NP gauge of that enemy by 1 bar. So yeah, your enemy is going to get a little closer to firing off that NP gauge, but this demerit is not nearly as big as the demerit on Tamamo's other skill, because, well, you always have the chance to kill that enemy before they're able to use their Noble Phantasm. You always have a chance to use Invincibility to block that Noble Phantasm. You have a chance to use Evade to completely ignore that Noble Phantasm. There's just so many ways in a game to get around a Noble Phantasm that I really feel like this is something you just want to look out for when you're planning, and it's not such a bad demerit that you don't want to use this skill at all. That all being said, the defense reduction still isn't that great. When it comes to leveling the skill, it's only a 10% boost when you go through it, though that's still pretty solid, a 30% debuff. And on top of that, the curse damage only goes up by another 500 per turn, so we're going to want to go ahead and leave leveling this skill to last. And Tamamo's final skill has a bunch of effects that make saying this an absolute mouthful, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. Goddess Morph rank B makes Tamamo invincible for 1 turn. It increases her crit strength by 30 to 50%. It increases her star drop rate by 30 to 50%. It increases her NP gain by 30 to 50%. It increases her debuff res by 30 to 50%. It increases her HP recovery amount by 30 to 50% as well. And this loaded skill all comes at the cost of stunning Tamamo for 1 turn. I know, super huge demerit, something you might not want to use, even though this skill is absolutely loaded. But we're going to talk about how to get around that when we get to our craft essences. Just again, remember, you need to keep in mind that Tamamo will be stunned a turn after using this skill. Make sure you plan accordingly. And then, of course, we have Tamamo's Noble Phantasm, which makes me cringe a little bit just thinking about it. Tokonatsu Nico, the goddess's love parasol, rank C, deals 600 to 1000% damage to a single enemy. And unfortunately for that enemy, if they're male, because of where Tamamo deals the killing blow, they're going to take an extra 150% to 200% damage depending on that Noble Phantasm's charge. This skill falls in line with Queen Mabe's skill, and when used correctly, Tamamo Summer is actually an absolutely devastating servant, especially against them archers and against them berserkers. She has a chance to deal some absolutely crazy amounts of damage thanks to this skill, and it's part of the reason I say she's not really that bad. Sure, you gotta watch out for female servants when you use this skill. It's not going to be nearly as effective. But male servants, it's going to deal a little extra damage. It's going to be a great single target attacker skill, and it might be pretty good for challenge quests. I don't know. I'm just saying. Now, I'm sure you might be thinking, who do I pair Tamamo with to make her super, super effective? Well, of course, there's your buster buffing servants, but I'm not even gonna mention those characters because you're gonna use them. You're gonna use anyone that ups buster skills. There's no point in me retreading that ground again and again and again. What instead we are going to talk about are servants that are going to be able to grant Tamamo debuff immunity to avoid that detriment tied to her crazy third skill. So let's go ahead and start with our freebie option, an option I'm very, very excited to mention, and that is, of course, BB. BB grants Domina Cornum 10 crowns, rank D, and this ability removes one ally's debuffs, recovers their HP, and grants them debuff immunity 1 time for 3 turns. So you can use this skill preemptively to make sure Tamamo isn't stunned by that ability, or you can even use this to immediately cleanse Tamamo on the next turn and make sure she is up and ready to go no matter what. BB, I knew you were my waifu for a reason. We actually have a servant coming out very, very soon with Lost Belt 2 that will be pretty good to pair with Summer Tamamo as well, and that is Sigurd. Sigurd has an ability called Crystallized Wisdom, rank A, and increases one ally's crit star generation for 1 turn, and it also grants them debuff immunity for 1 turn. So, if you end up using this ability at the right time, you can not only increase Tamamo's critical star generation, but give her a chance to completely and utterly avoid that stun from the end of her skill. We also have an offensive caster you can pair with in the form of Xuanzang Sanzong. Sanzong's ability, called Sanzong's Teachings, rank A, increases the party's NP gen for 3 turns, increases their crit star gen for 3 turns, and also grants the party debuff immunity for 1 turn. So your whole party will get NP gen, will get critical star gen, and Tamamo will have that debuff immunity. I'm sure you all thought I wasn't gonna mention a buster buffing servant, but I lied, because we have to mention Nightingale. Nightingale has her magnificent Nurse of Steel rank A+ skill, which can restore 2,000 to 4,000 HP, grants an ally debuff immunity 3 times for 3 turns, and also grants them instant kill immunity 1 time for 3 turns. Nightingale, just brilliant, brilliant nurse. She absolutely knows what kind of medicine to give your servants to keep them in peak condition. Tamamo will appreciate this. And because we have the absolute beauty of being able to look into the future 2 years, I'm going to mention 2 servants that are super far off in the future, but these servants are really good with Summer Tamamo. So if you don't want to be spoiled with some servants for the future, you can just go ahead and shut off the video now, but I feel like a lot of you are going to be pretty happy I mentioned these characters. Alright, you still there? Good. We're going to start with Murasaki Shikibu and her ability, Diary of Murasaki Shikibu. This ability will reduce the party's damage taken by 3 attacks for 3 turns, will grant the party debuff immunity once over the course of 3 turns, and will also increase the party's buff removal resistance by 100% for 1 time over those 3 turns. So not only is Tamamo not going to take that stun, but on top of that, if you manage to buff her up with some multiple turn-long buffs, you're not gonna get those removed. You're not gonna have a boss just immediately cleanse all of the buffs on your team, because Murasaki Shikibu is gonna protect you from that. And finally, it's time to mention a very recent servant, and that is Dioscuri. Whether you want to call him Dioscuri, the Gemini twins, Caster, and Pollux, whatever, all that matters is that this skill they have works well with Summer Tamamo for this video. And that is Guardians of Navigation rank B. This increases the party's NP damage by 10 to 15% for 1 turn, and also increases the party's attack by 10 to 15% for 1 turn, while on top of that, granting that much wanted debuff immunity 1 time for 3 turns. So not only is Dioscuri able to go ahead and give Tamamo that debuff immunity, but they're also going to increase Tamamo's attack and increase Tamamo's NP damage as well. So you can unload all of those buffs on Tamamo in a single turn and unleash her Noble Phantasm for a lot of damage. Now, of course, we finally got to talk about craft essences, and we are really looking for craft essences that are able to buff Tamamo's Noble Phantasm damage, because that is the main reason you are going to find yourself using her, is for quests where she ends up fighting a male servant, and you want to get out every extra bit of damage from her NP that you can. So for the freebie recommendation, I'm going to say Hero Ellie's Adventure is the way to go. This grants her that NP damage boost on top of a general Buster card boost. That damage is going to stack, and that damage is going to be incredible. But you might just be looking for a craft essence that grants strict Noble Phantasm damage. And of course, I've got you covered, but these ones unfortunately aren't free. You can go with Heaven's Feel, you can go with Cute Orangette, which that one's going to grant you a little bit of extra NP gain, or you can of course go with the absolute granddaddy of them all, the Black Grail. Sure, Tamamo's going to be taking a little bit of damage, but hopefully the damage you are dealing out hits the enemies so hard and so fast that they die before you even have to worry about that. Remember, your enemy deals 0 damage to you if they are dead. And maybe you're one of those people that doesn't want to pair Tamamo with servants to grant her that debuff immunity. Maybe you would rather use a craft essence instead, and you're not super worried about that hit she's going to take to her damage from it. Well, that's okay, because you can always use Vessel of the Saint for that. It's going to grant Tamamo debuff immunity 3 times, and also increases Tamamo's NP gain by 15 to 20%. Now, of course, you do have to worry about any bosses you may be fighting that are a little debuff happy, because that is going to eat up your debuff immunity charges, but overall, this is still a fantastic craft essence for Tamamo. Overall, I've really got to say Summer Tamamo is an often overlooked servant that a lot of people are just willing to pitch into the bin because of her demerits tied to her last 2 skills. But as always with any character in this game, there are a multitude of ways to work around those demerits, especially on JP as more servants have been released, all these new characters we have to look forward to. All of this is going to play into making these older servants better, because you're going to have new ways to get around things that were previously huge weaknesses for them. So I actually do recommend that if you are on the fence about Summer Tamamo, but you really like the character, it is absolutely worth giving her a try. As I said, there's this multitude of ways to get around her demerits, and even so, if you just want to only use her against male-only challenge bosses, that is also fine too. She is going to excel in that field. But as always, I do want to know your thoughts, so go ahead and let me know your feelings on Summer Tamamo down in the comments below. Also, let me know if you are pulling on the 10 million downloads banner that is coming out around the time of this video. I will not be pulling because I am personally saving my St. Quartz right now for the 3-star Legend Okada Izo on the new Gouda Gouda banner. But maybe some of you aren't interested in that. Maybe some of you would rather have one of these summer servants instead. So go ahead, let me know if you have had Summer Tamamo for a very, very long time since she came out back in Summer 1. Also, let me know how she has been treating you. I'm sure a lot of you who have had her in your servant pool for a while have some really, really good tricks that maybe I don't know about. This is Kawaii50, hoping you have a phenomenal day, and as always, hoping this video was able to help you out. And I'll see you in the next one.